Hey everyone, it is late at night and I am Norman. It's time for some more watch news. So let us begin. Tonight we're looking at 6 different watches. They're all pretty amazing. The first watch on my list is a crazy looking Breguet watch. This is a grand complication watch with a fusee tourbillon on it. This watch features a sub-dial that tells the hours and minutes, and that dial is offset at the 7 o'clock position. Opposite it, at the 1 o'clock position, is a tourbillon. At the 5 o'clock and 9 o'clock, it almost looks like there's 2 mainsprings in this movement. However, on their website, it doesn't specify that at all. These watches have 41mm case sizes. The markers on the dial that tell the time are done in Roman numerals, and of course, there are Breguet style hands on there. The lugs on these watches are very utilitarian, almost Bauhaus style. What do I think of these watches? I absolutely love the gray and the gray and blue color variants of these. They look absolutely amazing. The watches are a bit busy for me personally, but they really look good aesthetically. With the blue and gray variant, the sub-dial that tells the time is done in blue. The rest of the visible movement is done in gray, and the balance wheel at 1 o'clock is also done in blue. These watches are pretty thick though, at 16mm. And you know you're in trouble when you're on the website and you actually have to click a button to reveal the price. That's right, these are $200,000. I just can't imagine spending $200,000 on a watch. I love watches, but wow, that's crazy. The next watch and article I have comes from Monochrome Watches, and this is a write-up on a 40mm Rolex Explorer. So in 2021, Rolex came out with a 36mm Explorer, returning the watch to its roots. However, when they did this, apparently it marked the end of the 39mm Explorer. So I'm a little bit nervous about this update. Now in 2023, Rolex has released a 40mm Explorer. Does that mean that the 36mm Explorers are going away? They better not be. What do I think of this watch? Being 40mm, I do like the way it makes the case appear thinner than it is. But this is a Rolex Explorer. I feel like an Explorer should be at 36mm, period. 36mm with a 20mm lug width. Anything other than that just doesn't feel like an Explorer to me. I mean, it has the Explorer indices, but the proportions are just all wrong. I also find it weird that Rolex has gone for a 40mm Explorer at a time when watches are actually resetting to more traditional sizes. We're recovering from the early 2000s when all watches were gigantic, and now we're returning to sizes that watches have been pretty much since the beginning. You know, sub 40mm. I really just don't understand the thought process behind some of Rolex's decisions. If they're going to keep 36mm Explorers and this new 40mm Explorer, perfect. Give people options. Those with larger wrists or prefer larger watches can go for the 40, but I really hope they keep on producing the 36 as well. The next watch on my list is brought to us by WatchTime.com, and this is the Oris Kermit watch. These watches have a bright lime green dial on them, amazingly long Bauhaus style batten markers, a small rope style bezel on it. I'm not sure what those are called. And what's really interesting about this watch is at 6 o'clock there's a date window where every month it swaps to a different picture of Kermit the Frog. That's super fun. This is part of Oris's Pro Pilot X series. These watches have 39mm case sizes. They retail for about $4,500, and they have 100 meters of water resistance. What do I think of these watches? These are super fun. And it's so cool that they have Kermit in a date window. How random is that? That lime green looks absolutely amazing, and I love the Bauhaus markers on here. The bracelet on these watches look great, and I love the hands they went with as well. I would really love to see one of these watches in person, just to see that green color, because I feel like photos may not really do it justice. Most of the watches I have silver or black dials. It would be cool to have a fun colored dial. The next watch that I have on my list is an FP Journe Digital watch, and this is brought to us by A Blog to Watch. This is an interesting skeletonized watch that features a suit of armor looking hand right in the middle of the dial. And what's interesting about that hand is that's how you tell the time. As you can see in this illustration, you have to learn how to read the fingers on this watch. So with this watch, you looked at the hand to tell the hours, and around the edge of the dial is a rotating disc that tells us the minutes. When the hour flips over, the hand's fingers snap into position, telling us what the current hour is. These watches have 42mm case sizes, and at this point in time, there's no information on the pricing of these watches just yet. What do I think? What a clever idea, so weird at the same time. It's crazy watching those fingers snap into position. I love the clever ideas that brands come up with. Who would have thought of doing this? It's so wild. The watch is kind of busy and not really to my personal liking, but I do appreciate the uniqueness and ingenuity of this piece. The next watch I have is an inverse watch, and this comes to us from wristreview.com. This is a Glasuta original, the Pano Inverse limited edition watch. So with this watch, the balance bridge and the fine adjustment are visible on the front of the watch. Usually these are components that are on the back side of the movement, also known as the watchmaker's side. But in this watch, they're in the front. The time is told in an offset subdial. There's also a power reserve indicator and a sub-seconds dial. The case back is exhibition, and the movement is etched with an amazing 3/4 view city scene inspired by Glasuta. What do I think of this watch? Kind of like the Breguet watch that I opened this video with. I really love the overall aesthetic of it, even though it's not my personal style. It's really cool seeing the jewels on the dial and the offset subdial for the hours and minutes, as well as the other dial position just below it. This watch just looks really beautiful. I like that it's less busy than the Breguet that we discussed earlier. The markers on the subdial for this piece are applied batten markers. This watch is limited to only 50 pieces, and they should be available at the end of this month. The last watch on my list is the Astronomia, and this is brought to us by Monochrome Watches. Jacob & Co. is known for making really crazy watches, and this is another example of that. This watch features a dial and a tourbillon that are attached to a centerpiece, and they rotate around the dial, once per minute. As you can see, the watch is really mesmerizing looking, and it's kind of fun to watch how this was put together. What do I think of this watch? Jacob & Co. is a little bit wild for me personally, but I do like the idea of the fast moving movement here, so you can actually see it rotating. That's pretty cool. Weird sort of animated elements on watches are really cool because they're fun to look at. The 6-sided panels that hide behind all the moving parts are pretty cool looking. This watch is wild, crazy, wicked expensive, at only $600,000, and 100% Jacob & Co. So there you have it, 6 crazy watches. Thanks for watching.